Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Grain Blast. It is Friday, the 21st of November, a very special day, which we'll get into in a minute. Maybe a little bit of a sing-song in a second. But you join myself and the goddess of grain herself, Mrs. Angie Setzer, for a rapid roundup of the latest pricing flows and market-moving news in agricultural markets. But before we crack on, a reminder that nothing we say on this podcast is trading or investment advice. Nothing's an endorsement. This is recorded live. There's no editing, so we apologize for tangents and possible swear words and rants that occur. But that's why you love us. But anyway, how are you, Angie?
I am great. Happy birthday. Do you want me to sing it?
I want you to sing the first few
Michael?
lines. Yes, the first few lines.
He did. He's a happy birthday to
All right, that's
you.
enough. That's enough.
All right. That's what I could do the Mr. President version, but I think everyone would rather I not.
That's on TikTok.
So, yeah, that's what I'll save that for later for sure. So yeah, happy Friday. Very special day indeed.
Thank you.
November the 21st, the day that shall live in infamy forever.
So just quickly before we go on, because this has blown my mind. As usual on a Friday, I go across to my very old, very esteemed cigar shop to get my Friday cigar. Walked in, they started singing happy birthday to me. An American, in fact, that was a tourist, because it's a very prominent cigar shop, was buying a cigar for himself just to say he could. It was also his birthday today. And more than that, no, his name is also Ryan. So shout out to Ryan from America. I didn't get any more details.
American Ryan.
There we go.
Yeah.
There's only one or two.
Or big shout out to American Ryan, now enjoying a nice cigar. I don't even know how does one enjoy one of them. Anyway,
as I said, there's no editing, there's no right. So anyway, what we here for?
So yeah, back to the task at hand, if we shall. Big things today. And I mean, I feel like I kind of repeat myself a lot, so my apologies, because that's basically how we live in the grain side of things. But obviously, we're going to be watching what the heck happens with the Ukraine peace plan. Zelensky is currently addressing the nation, I believe, and just so we've got the peace plan. To me, it's not much different than previous proposals or conversations or whatever, and so apparently this one might be the official plan, though I've had a few people point out to me who I trust, who are experts in the geopolitical realm, that really Trump didn't, like, they've been working on this, but he kind of was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that looks good. It's not really been something that has been really ever present or what have you. And it's like I said, it's 28-point plan. And basically it's similar to what we've heard about before, or what kind of came after the August peace talks, right? Ukraine gives up more land than Russia, currently controls. Like, there'd be little pockets that Russia would give up and give back to Ukraine, tiny pockets, and then Ukraine would give up, kind of some bigger chunks of land that Russia hasn't controlled, it doesn't control, and would kind of let them just have that. They also would pledge not to join NATO. Elections would be held within 100 days in Ukraine. Ukraine would cut the size of its army. It would get unspecified security agreements. Like it says, robust security agreements to be determined later, which is definitely something that makes you feel warm and fuzzy.
Like a very weak letter of intent.
Yes, exactly. Like, that's it. And I mean, they did say there was something that it said there was kind of an outline or a conversation that would be similar to Article 5 or whatever with NATO. So they could, if they were attacked, there is the potential that the US and Europe would support them or whatever. But then, the big things, Russia gets reintegrated into the global economy, basically. Yeah. You see them back into the group of 8 instead of the G7. It goes back to the G8 and all of these things. And so obviously, with Ukraine and Europe, the European leaders kind of being on the outside looking in, their initial reaction, I think, was, oh, I don't know if this is what we want. I believe, it's kind of all moving pieces very quickly.
Yeah.
But we did just see Zelensky, as I said, he's addressing the nation. And he basically said, Zelensky says Ukraine is facing a choice of losing a major partner, because the talk now is that the U.S. has said they'll again cut Ukraine off from intelligence and weapons and some of these other things if they don't agree to this. So basically, Ukraine is facing the choice of losing a major partner or their dignity.
Yes,
And
right.
he said that he would never give up the nation's best interest. And so I'm going to guess that it's going to be a respectful but firm no.
Right.
Though I think the European leadership is going to have a big, like they're going to have to come up with a lot of dollars and a lot of promises
Yes.
and a lot of other things if we're going to turn our like this could kind of upset the apple cart with geopolitics
Right.
potentially, like, but I feel like it's deja vu all over again too. Like, I feel like we did this in February and again in April and again in August and now, right? And we have the big sanctions that are supposed to kick in today and a couple other things. And so it'll just be interesting to see kind of the reaction there and get a more solid reaction from the European leaders on what they are proposing. What Zelensky, like right now, his response seems to be, like I said, kind of a respectful but firm no thank you. And this could have huge implications going forward. The thing I've been talking about the most is what's going on the ground, what you're actually seeing with grain movement versus what folks are talking about. ASAP Agri put out something here this morning talking about how Ukraine, like they can't dry their corn. Like the lack of electricity is creating issues with getting harvest facilitated. And they're unable to dry it. You're running into quality issues. You've got issues with
Well, also,
logistics.
I'm guessing, yeah, this is the worst time of year for that as well because, yeah,
Yeah.
it's getting damp and wet, so you need to keep it
Getting
dry.
even worse. Yeah, it doesn't get any better. You get to where you have disease. You have, like you have these major issues. And so I think that we really have to pay attention because if the situation gets worse, you're coming into winter and all of these other things, you really, especially if the US backs out, then I think the gloves potentially have the chance of coming off even more.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely.
If Trump and says, "Hey, I tried and you refuse to participate, Ukraine. Now whatever Russia wants to do, it's up to them." And honestly, like if the U.S. steps out, then why does Ukraine have to listen? So it's just something to pay attention to, obviously, in a very
Yeah.
big way. And like I said, it feels like deja vu all over again, but it's different this time because of reasons.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. Secondly, we have outside market jitters. So it does look like today we're kind of a little less jittery. I don't know. Well, we started a little less jittery. Now we're kind of not. Anyway, it's not really my strong suit. But the one thing that I will say is I did spend a little bit of time reading today about capex and the capex issue that we have and some of the worries in AI and some of these other things. And all I could think about again is Michael Brown's picture of the elephant.
Stop. I'm trying to get
And
that out of my head.
I know. It lives in my head. I might have it tattooed on me eventually at this point. But someone commented about circular revenue relationships in tech and in AI and in some of these other things. And I guess that's what the picture is, right? Is a circular revenue relationship. And so like I think there's some real big issues that are kind of coming to light or could potentially be coming to light, and it's well above my pay grade. The only thing that I am watching in commodities, of course, and a friend of mine said it best yesterday. If this is a measured, calm sort of move from out of stocks or out of equities or out of whatever the hell, AI and some of these other things, like if it's calm, then we have the chance of seeing money move in to commodities. It makes sense. It's one of those things where if you drop it on your foot, it hurts, and there is some risks out there that we could see reduction and supply movement or whatever we've got going on. But if it's a panic, like you saw yesterday, there's no safe haven for an amount of time. And so that's the biggest thing I'm gonna be watching here for a while. Like, and I hate it because I'm not an outside market expert by any means, and I'm not going to try to be, but I feel like that's really what's going to kind of dominate things here for the most part is just overall sentiment, confidence in whether or not we're going to fall flat on our face or not, whether or not you're going to see this implosion, whether it's worse than the dot-com bubble or not,
Right.
these types of things, and what it means for money flow into commodities. Secondarily, though, onto that, like the other problem that we have, obviously, is the lack of commitment of traders' data. And so we're flying blind. Everyone is under the assumption at this point that after the move in the market that we've seen, the speculator is about as long as they want to be. We don't know if that's the case or not. We're all just kind of guessing and going off from vibes. But that's the other issue that we have is you're going to be hard pressed to have some folks come in and buy this thing until it resets itself and you don't feel like we're at max long spec position.
Yeah.
Even if we aren't close, like it feels that way. And so that's kind of the other thing that we're watching. Do you have anything like on the outside stuff that you guys have paid attention to? Because that's more your jam than mine.
Not particularly, no. I got to be honest, my focus this week has basically been all the shit show that's kind of surrounding the UK budget that we've got coming up.
Oh yeah.
Nothing else is really popping out at me.
That's right. Yeah. So that's what I'm watching the most. Like, obviously, we're going to have some extreme volatility in things. You get sort of the back and forth on whether or not we have rate cuts. And obviously, that's going to play into whether or not we do have an inflation conversation or not.
Right.
Japan, you saw Japan approve a pretty big stimulus package on Friday. And some other things that we're seeing. We've seen some other countries out there proposing stimulus. We've obviously heard the U.S. say things like $2,000 tariff checks and yada yada. So it'll be all interesting to see how the next few months play out. What happens with money flow on that side of things. Beyond that, welcome to the freaking purgatory, right? Like the holidays next week, Thanksgiving is next week. We have been like, if you asked any trader out there, whether they're on the cash side, whether they're a farmer, whether they're a speculator in agricultural commodities or not, or whatever, I think in any realm at this point, like anyone that's goes to markets, geopolitics, anything like that, like we all feel like we've been put in a bag, like a jar. You know what I mean? Like
exactly that.
shaken.
Exactly.
Like, like everyone I talk to is absolutely exhausted and just dragging ass into the holiday. And so, like, you aren't going to, in my opinion, see much of anything spicy.
Well, this is it. Like, unless you're forced to be in the market right now, we know a lot. A lot of our listeners are, naturally they have positions, naturally they have to hedge. But you're not going to see, in my opinion, you're not going to see. Normally we say after Thanksgiving, all the big desks, all the real money desks kind of clock off. But it feels like people are doing that already. They're like,
Tom just said that neutral is good for now. And neutral is safe at this point. Is it boring? Yeah. But, for the most part, honestly, as in my position here, like I feel like we're going to see a range bound market, like 11.10 to 11.35, maybe 11.50 on the high side in soybeans. And that, I don't know, wheat feels like 5.25 to 5.50, corn 4.20 on the lower end of things to like a 4.40. And that's what we're going to do. And it's going to be real boring, I think, but I welcome that. I think everyone does at this point. So having said that, now we are obviously going to explode.
Yeah, right. I was like, I can't believe we've said that out loud.
I know, I just ruined Christmas. But yeah, next week's going to be slow. I'm going to be trying to come up with things to talk about, hopefully, but we'll be watching. We did see that rollback of tariffs overnight, the beef side of things. I think caught some folks off guard. I thought they were doing it, but it's so hard to keep up with all of the ins and outs.
Oh God, is it just?
But yeah, so now your orange juice is cheaper. You're going to have more in the way of beef imports, which are whatever. It's going to be beef cuts for ground beef and things like that. Like that's mostly what it is. It's not going to be your steak on your plate. But, we've seen some of that, and yeah, we'll just see where today goes. Hopefully we're able to hold support here, and we'll probably close, I would imagine, close to unchanged.
Fingers crossed. Why did you say that? God, my God! Right, we're gonna stop the show right now before.
Someone spray me in the face with a hose. God dang! Right. I'm gonna stop talking now. But yeah, I feel like we're just trying to tread water.
Oh God, stop talking! Stop.
I just invited.
Before Angie ruins everyone's Christmas by jinxing the whole market.
Oh man.
Angie, thank you so much as usual, especially today of all days. I really enjoy talking to you, and I know our listeners enjoy listening to you. Listeners, speaking of you, whatever you're doing today, keep it tight, stay safe, and we'll see you all on Monday. Have a fantastic weekend.
Happiest of birthdays, sir.
Thank you. I'm now going to go get drunk.
You do that. Do it twice